What's the best Nintendo game ever? A huge question that we at IGN, in collaboration with our friends at Nintendo Life, have decided to try to answer. From Mario and Zelda to Metroid and Pokemon, there are a lot of huge contenders for that prize, so many in fact that we've decided to rank our 100 favorite Nintendo games to give them all a little moment in the limelight. So without further ado, let's get on with it and kick things off as we reveal the top 100 Nintendo games of all time.
Three Houses is a Fire Emblem game that got everything so right, it's been hard to readjust in its aftermath. You see, Three Houses gives us the turn-based strategy we're all looking for, yes, and it does so with style to spare. However, the real draw here, and the thing that makes this one so worthy of note overall, is the focus and effort that's been placed on the socializing, customization, relationships, and all the good stuff that happens between scraps. It's a game you could quite happily live in for a bit.
Of being relegated to supporting roles, our little mushroom-headed friend Toad finally got his own game in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Nintendo over the years has done a brilliant job of designing games fit and tuned perfectly to the personalities of each of its mascots, and Captain Toad is no exception. The cute diorama-like levels proved to be magnificent puzzles for our intrepid explorer to navigate one by one, presenting a slower and cozier pace from other Nintendo challenges, yet still being perfectly, whimsically Nintendo. It's a shame we never got another one of these.
F-Zero is about cheating death to go faster, and F-Zero GX's uncompromising difficulty and incredibly high skill ceiling represent the peak of the futuristic racing genre. Like F-Zero X before it, GX forces you to sacrifice your machine's health bar to get a boost, resulting in tense risk-reward scenarios that get your blood pumping every time. And if you fall off the track while trying to shave off an extra split second, Lakitu won't swoop in to save you, you're dead. You must master GX's tight mechanics and memorize its radical track designs to even stand half a chance against its toughest CPUs. And you hit a high most video games can't reach when you finally cross the finish line in first place. The cold-blooded challenge only works because GX runs perfectly at 60 FPS and looks fantastic with strong art direction that rivals the GameCube's best like Metroid Prime and Rogue Leader. F-Zero GX is a masterpiece and probably the most hardcore Nintendo game since the NES.
Cannot believe the others let me sneak Super Mario Sunshine onto this list. I was ready to concede it, despite it being my second favorite 3D Mario after Odyssey, but everyone kept insisting we keep it because of vibes. And yes, vibes are precisely the reason to love Super Mario Sunshine. Look, it hasn't aged well in some places. It's got some goofy movement. And some of the levels make you want to rip your hair out. Pachinko. Sandbird. But the goofiness of Mario being sent to a tropical island and being forced to clean up gunk in order to avoid going to jail is unmatched. And it makes for some pretty interesting level design, which Nintendo manages to concoct in Sunshine around a variety of conceits that all fit the tropical theme, while each feeling distinct. I love the silly piantas, shooting myself high into the air with FLUDD, skidding through Delfino Plaza on my stomach like I'm on a slip and slide, and collecting every last one of those pesky blue coins. They've never made another game quite like Super Mario Sunshine. I'm not sure they ever will, but its pure, ambitious strangeness has earned it a spot among the Nintendo greats.
Adapting 1984's Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out arcade games to consoles, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out saw the boxer lend his likeness to a game that, if you have a certain vintage, you can only have sweet memories of. Yes, it may not look all that to modern eyes, but it's still got it where it counts, with a simple, tight control scheme that puts bobbing, weaving, blocking, ducking, and punching at your fingertips. Are you ready to take on a roster that includes Glass Joe, Piston Hunter, and Mike Tyson? Whew, talk about terrifying final boss material.
It's hard to imagine the fighting game world without Street Fighter, but it's a series that didn't truly make its mark until Street Fighter II Turbo arrived on the Super Nintendo in 1993. The legacy roster of Street Fighter that's still predominantly used today started here, with Street Fighter II being the first appearances for series favorites like Blanka, Chun-Li, Guile, M. Bison, and Zangief. It's only Ryu and Ken that featured as playable characters before this, marking Street Fighter II as the true starting point for the iconic cast of characters we've loved and played for decades. Along with Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter II Turbo created and then defined a new genre of video games, and both are still the standard bearers to this day.
After 25 years of rolling dice, playing minigames, and betraying friends, the Mario Party formula reached new heights in 2024's Super Mario Party Jamboree. It has the greatest set of boards in the franchise, and whether you're buying game-changing items in a colorful shopping mall or planning around high tide at the pirate-themed lagoon, there are more ways to strategize than ever before. Of course, Mario Party wouldn't be Mario Party without its crazy luck-based antics, but Jamboree strikes the best balance between skill and chance we've ever seen so far. It also has the biggest character roster in the series, a thrilling set of new and returning minigames that celebrate Nintendo history in surprising ways. You play WarioWare and Donkey Konga, and gorgeous presentation, making it an easy choice to crown Jamboree as Mario Party's defining superstar.
After Other M and Federation Force made fans wonder if the Metroid experience they fell in love with during the 8 and 16-bit days was gone forever, Spanish developer Mercury Steam pitched to Nintendo on a remake of Metroid Fusion. We got a competent Metroid 2 remake instead, but little did we know then that it was just the warm-up course. Released in 2021, Metroid Dread arrived as a triumphant return to classic 2D Metroid. Challenging, often downright scary, and absolutely gorgeous, it wraps up the Samus story by paying homage to all that came before. Metroid Dread at times makes you question whether you can beat the next challenge, but those who persevere will come to the most satisfying realization: it was inside of you from the very beginning. It's not all about speed and dexterity. You overcome dread when you no longer fear dread. A sensation of almost unparalleled popularity, there's arguably never been a system seller of the same scale as Wii Sports since Tetris landed on the original Game Boy. Packed in with every console, this collection of bowling, tennis, golf, baseball, and boxing kept family members of all ages enthralled just as much as it boosted the TV repair business due to free-flying Wii remotes. It's not complex, nor does it display a level of wild creativity that Nintendo is renowned for, but its beautiful simplicity delivered one thing above all: fun. And isn't that the most important factor of all?
Nintendo had to do something extra special with Mario Kart World, because not only was it the first 100% new console entry in the flagship racing series in 11 years, it was also to be the poster child of Switch 2, and the day one purchase of most people buying the system. It's a testament to the devs then just how refined this series' tried and tested formula feels. There's a lot to love about Mario Kart World: the wonderfully frantic knockout mode, intense 24-driver races, the all-timer soundtrack, and while it might not have thrown out the rulebook to quite the extent that we were hoping for, you'll be hard pushing to get more smiles from a racer. The perfect introduction to a new console generation, and some of the finest racing we've seen from Nintendo's prized plumber.
It's hard to imagine a time when first-person shooters and consoles weren't a perfect match, but before GoldenEye 007's N64 release in 1997, any FPS on your television and using a D-pad was largely unplayable. But then, developer Rare did the unthinkable. Not only did it manage to translate a popular PC genre onto a Nintendo 64 controller, but it created a licensed game that was a genuine Game of the Year contender. Seemingly an impossible feat, not only back in 1997, but still to this day. GoldenEye became a standard bearer for not only movie tie-in games, but first-person shooters in general. Decades later, many pretenders and even a direct remake have failed to capture that magical formula. The original Mega Man didn't sell very well upon its launch, so it's kind of a miracle that Capcom even greenlit a sequel in the first place. It's a good job they did, however, since Mega Man 2 still stands as the greatest entry in the long-running series. Honed to perfection with buttery smooth responsiveness and superb power-ups, the levels and bosses remain some of the most memorable of all time. And once you've listened to the sublime soundtrack, you'll feel like you've ascended to a higher plane of existence.
Figuring out the most optimal route through the 8 robot masters remains one of the most satisfying accomplishments in all of gaming. It's tough, alright, but in memorizing the intricate placement of obstacles and enemies, you'll be coming back in no time.
The story of how Majora's Mask got made is buck wild. The team behind Ocarina of Time was challenged to create a new game using the same engine and assets in just 1 year. They almost made it, finishing in 15 months. In a testament to the power of creativity under strict limitations, Majora's Mask is one of the most interesting, fun, unique, and emotional Zelda games. The repetitive 3-day structure, the strict character schedules, the smaller world scale, and the perfect freedom to shift events within that structure lets Majora's cast of characters shine in a way that no other Zelda game does. By the time you're done, you've learned the eccentricities, habits, desires, and fears of every single Clocktown resident, and you've likely become deeply attached to them. Meanwhile, the looming giant moon and overall dark, haunting atmosphere of Majora's adds to the emotional stakes, as the consequences for Link not stepping into their lives are too dire to think about for long. Rife with some of the weirdest and grimmest quests in the series, but also some of the most beautiful and moving, Majora's Mask remains a complete standout in the series even 25 years after its release.
Arguably, no Nintendo game feels as good to play as Donkey Kong Bonanza. DK's destructive, expressive moveset and the underground world's intentionally designed breakable layers are a perfect match. And whether you're punching through a wall of stone or surfing on a chunk of sand you tore up from the ground, Bonanza is always foundationally fun and immensely satisfying. It's a remarkable achievement of synergy between a world and its main character, and it's endlessly enjoyable to experiment in this dynamic toy box and discover the ways each unique layer reacts to and crumbles before you. Bonanza builds around its incredible game feel by taking inspiration from the highlights of the Switch era's game design philosophy. Breath of the Wild's sequence-breaking freedom, Tears of the Kingdom's bonkers mechanical ambition, Super Mario Odyssey's platforming creativity, and Splatoon's fresh personality, and it hands all of these newer ideas to its oldest character, resulting in a modern Nintendo masterpiece that's simultaneously nostalgic for all eras of Donkey Kong and a striking original direction for one of gaming's most historic characters. It also redefines the original Nintendo relationship. For the last 40 years, saying DK and Pauline evoked memories of the giant ape kidnapping Lady and dragging her up 75 meters. For the next 40, it'll bring back memories of DK and his best friend joyously singing and punching their way down to the planet core.
has a game felt quite as culturally relevant on release as with Animal Crossing New Horizons in 2020. While everyone was hunkered down indoors, separated from friends and family, Nintendo released a game which was all about the outdoors, all about friends, all about being together. We all needed it, and we all welcomed it. New Horizons didn't reinvent the Animal Crossing wheel, but it sure as hell refined it. Nintendo took the tried and tested formula and threw in enough bells, literally, and whistles to make the experience feel simultaneously new and familiar. Picturing an Animal Crossing game without terraforming and crafting just doesn't feel right now, and we have New Horizons to thank for that. We all have stories of the countless hours we spent in that game in the first spring/summer. Our daily routines of fishing, chopping, and shell collecting, the excitement of finally landing a dream villager, or our learned manipulations of the stock market. More than a few of us have hit the island reset button to capture that magic all over again, and the Happy Home Designer DLC only encouraged us to return for another 100 hours. Animal Crossing New Horizons might forever be remembered for the global context into which it was released. But 5 years on, yes, you heard that correctly, there are few Nintendo games that we'd rather cozy up with after a long day of real life.
While the 2024 remaster polished up Metroid Prime's visual luster, it's a testimony to developer Retro's original design that little else had to be changed to make a 2002 game feel as if it was designed today. The then controversial decision to flip a genre-defining third-person 2D series into what on the surface looked like a first-person shooter quickly proved to be the right choice. More than any Metroid game before it, Metroid Prime made us feel like we were locked in behind Samus's visor, isolated and cut off, focused solely on survival and finding a way out. As Samus, players had to face an ever-escalating alien threat head-on while Indiana Jonesing through temple ruins and using some of the coolest special power-ups, like the Morph Ball, to get the next door open. It was and is vintage Metroid, and at the same time, something truly new and special.
Before we get to the top 10, do you ever wonder how a list like this comes together? Then you should check out the companion episodes of Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's weekly Nintendo podcast, where we break down the creation of the list, our personal favorites, and a lot more. NVC posts every Friday on the IGN Games YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast app. Links are in the description. We hope to see you there, but until then, here's the top 10. When Mario Kart 8 launched on the floundering Wii U in 2014, no one would have guessed it would go on to become the 5th best-selling video game of all time, thanks to its deluxe re-release on Nintendo Switch. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is far more than a drag-and-drop port, however, as the additions it stacks on top of an already amazing gameplay foundation result in the best kart racer ever made, and one of the finest Nintendo games of all time. There are a whopping 96 tracks to choose from, including some of the best the series has ever seen. Like the 3-part descent down Mount Wario that feels ripped straight out of an action movie. It's got a huge roster of characters, along with guest appearances from other Nintendo franchises such as Zelda, Splatoon, and Animal Crossing, not to mention the stunning renditions of Mute City and Big Blue that make us long for a new F-Zero in HD. Speaking of graphics, Mario Kart 8 remains one of the best-looking Nintendo games ever, with great art direction and minute attention to detail that makes every moment shine, like Mario's mustache fluttering in the wind or the iconic Luigi death stare. If you're having friends or family over, your best bet is still to break out Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You're practically guaranteed to have a great time, until someone hits you with a blue shell and passes you at the finish line at least.
A Link to the Past seemed like an anachronism when it debuted in Japan in 1991, and players playing it for the first time today may be surprised by how sophisticated and modern it still feels more than 30 years later. Its all-star EAD design team created a compelling quest that effectively creates the illusion of an open world, with each new item Link discovers acting as both a weapon and a key, a path to becoming stronger, solving puzzles, and unlocking new areas. But the moment players discover the magic mirror, the brilliant design fully reveals itself. The world map exists twice, and the small differences matter greatly. An instant hit back then, and an undisputed classic today, A Link to the Past created the template for gaming history's best action adventures.
Following an explosive introduction to Ridley, Super Metroid first takes you on a reunion tour of the original Metroid's greatest hits, where you get to see what's changed on the planet Zebes. But once Samus Aran descends to Brinstar and the perfect atmospheric music kicks in, you know you're about to experience an all-timer. And Super Metroid never lets up for a single second, taking players on a practically flawless journey whose groundbreaking nonlinear design continues to inspire Metroidvania developers more than 30 years later. It's even in the name. Its mood is magnificently eerie, its sprites and colors still astonish to this day, its unexpected secrets are supremely satisfying to uncover, it's a masterpiece in every sense of the word. While the credits rolled after the empowering emotional finale against Mother Brain and the adrenaline-fueled escape from Zebes, our collective understanding of the action-adventure genre looked a lot like Meridia's glass tunnel, completely shattered.
Years after its debut on the Super Nintendo, and Chrono Trigger still remains not just one of the best Nintendo games of all time, but one of the best games ever made, period. As someone who played it in Nintendo DS remake form as an adult for the first time, I was astounded at how well Chrono Trigger holds up to this day. It's immediately charming in its detailed sprite work and lovely, varied environments, and its soundtrack is arguably one of, if not the, finest work of Yasunori Mitsuda, with sweeping orchestral moments, earworm dungeon themes, and tender emotional peaks. The story itself is familiar at first, with a typical young boy hero caught up in a magic adventure beyond his understanding. But the plot quickly twists and turns, jumping between several time periods, introducing surprising cast members like a frogman, a robot, and one of the villains, and skillfully conducts one of the most surprising twists in gaming that the player can choose to resolve or not, depending on how they want to play Chrono Trigger. The ATB battle system and the mixture of scripted and environmental encounters feels natural and fresh, without becoming obnoxious or grindy. Chrono Trigger has a number of hidden side quests that give more insight into the lovable characters making up your party, if you want them, and a few legendary items to find and a long list of alternative endings. And yet, there's nothing about Chrono Trigger that overstays its welcome or feels like filler. Every era, every beat, every path is exact in its placement and timing, concluding at last in one of the most epic RPG final boss fights in history. RPGs themselves will continue to grow and evolve era after era, but it's difficult to imagine what could dethrone the perfect harmony formed by all the excellent components of Chrono Trigger working together.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time reinvented the combination of action, puzzle solving, and exploration gameplay already perfected in A Link to the Past for a new generation. While its predecessor's 2D style has aged just a tad better than Ocarina of Time's polygonal world, it remains one of gaming's most notable achievements. Ocarina of Time takes the series' trademark puzzle dungeons and gives them new depth, literally by transforming them into 3D playgrounds. Rather than just replicating Mario 64's innovations, it de-emphasizes platform jumping and instead invents a lock-on combat system that has been featured in nearly every action game since. Add to that horseback riding, a rich atmosphere underscored by unforgettable music and sound, and genre-defining puzzle design, and it is easy to see why many Nintendo fans consider it the crowning action-adventure achievement.
Close your eyes when you're trying to sleep and all you see are the same 7 shapes seemingly imprinted on the underside of your eyelids? You aren't alone. Scientists say that every person in possession of a Game Boy in 1989 suffered from this very condition. What is there to say about Tetris that hasn't been said already? A simple yet masterful puzzle game centered around slotting a series of falling shapes into groups of lines while battling the ever-increasing speed of the tetrinamos and your fingers' reflexes. Although first created by Alexei Pajitnov 4 years prior, it was its arrival on the Game Boy that truly made it reach a global audience and become a sensation rarely seen, if ever equaled. And despite being 4 decades old, there's still nothing quite like it. That simplicity and ability for anyone to pick up and play, helped by numerous versions and reinventions over the years, have made Tetris stand the test of time and remain, to this day, among the purest fun you can have with a video game.
Deciding on the greatest 3D Mario game will always be a matter of personal taste. Some hold the nostalgic invention of Mario 64 close to their hearts, while others yearn for the out-of-this-world creativity delivered in spades by the Galaxy games. Our pick is Super Mario Odyssey, the Switch's only original 3D Mario, but one so complete it warrants a generation of its own to savor. Granting everyone's favorite parkour plumber a new hat companion, Cappy, that expands his pool of abilities massively, he's an absolute delight to control as he dashes, double jumps, and hops into the brains of all manner of outlandish creatures, from T-Rexes to chain chomps. Set across multiple expansive worlds full of secrets and collectibles and soundtracked by outrageously enjoyable funk-infested music, it's a true evolution of a time-old formula. Whether dodging taxicabs in the vibrant metropolis of New Donk City with its odes to platformers past, or bouncing around the sherbet-sweet pastels and gelatinous joys of the Luncheon Kingdom, it's a complete wonder from start to finish. Mario has never looked, sounded, or played this good, at least when it comes to 3 dimensions.
It's incredible to think that Super Mario World launched alongside the SNES. Because not just is it one of that console's shining lights, it's also just one of the best video games of all time. Following the sublime Super Mario Bros. 3 was never going to be an easy task, and the fact that the sequel would be on an entirely new system could only have made things even more challenging for director Takashi Tezuka and producer Shigeru Miyamoto. However, the team at Nintendo EAD produced a 2D platformer that's positively bursting with life and glee invention. This is a game that confidently builds on what came before it, yet manages to break fresh ground and set a new standard in the genre. Super Super Mario World arguably established a series tradition that still holds true today. It introduces gameplay mechanics and features which are only seen fleetingly before the game moves on to the next fresh idea. There's rideable Yoshis, Switch Palaces, Ghost Houses, multiple exits, underwater sections, the Star Road, the list goes on. This is all bound together in an explorable node-based overworld which rewards repeat play and encourages you to find all 96 stage exits. A task which, even 35 years later, is a badge of honor for any self-respecting Nintendo fan. Debate over the best open-world Zelda game will rage in the years to come. But for some of us, the first bite is always the sweetest. Breath of the Wild came after nearly 2 decades of Eiji Aonuma and co. following Ocarina's familiar recipe. A new Zelda was still a treat, but it was essentially the same dish with different seasoning, a novel time loop narrative, gorgeous cel shading, styling, some sword waggle, and tiredness had crept in with the timeline. Could the wonder be restored? Could the series evolve without losing the elements that made it Zelda? Nintendo answered those questions emphatically in 2017, and it was hard to imagine going back to the old template. Zelda but open world covers it only in the grossest, most reductive sense, ignoring the impeccable polish needed to avoid boggling down the adventure with dreary waypoint checklists or creating a playground of pure jank. The underlying physics system and the emergent interactions it affords works in tandem with Hyrule's meticulously designed geography. A dozen distractions draw your eye from any point on the map: a peculiar rock outcrop, a grassy knoll, a mountain peak that pierces the rays of the setting sun, and each one offers an irresistible micro-adventure should you make the detour. It was a perfect showcase for Switch, proving that a little tablet could handle games of the grandest scale.
When the beast regains its true power, this world will face its end.
Hyrule went everywhere with you, and your in-game instincts and ponderances blossomed beyond the screen, creeping into your daily life. That tree on the hill, a prime Korok hiding spot, but how to glide over there? Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom then? That is the question. They're both essential, of course, offering variations of the same delicious dish. 3/4 of Team Nintendo Live preferred the Wild over the Kingdom, myself included. So yeah, an overall extraordinary game.
Breath of the Wild may be the more important game, but we firmly believe The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is the better one, and that Link's epic adventure across the skies, lands, and depths of Hyrule is the greatest Nintendo game of all time. This wildly ambitious sequel introduced an unbelievable amount of inventive, well-executed ideas that built on Breath of the Wild's groundbreaking formula, while also improving upon some of its predecessor's shortcomings, once again raising the bar for Nintendo's legendary franchise. Link's new set of abilities is so creatively and technically impressive that it made developers across the world both jealous of and inspired by what Nintendo managed to pull off. Whether it's ascending through nearly any ceiling in Hyrule, or using Ultra Hand to build the Zonai machine of your dreams, or simply a bridge made up of 20 logs, Tears of the Kingdom's buffet of complex, polished mechanics encourage player experimentation and ignite the most personal, improvisational, and magical open-world masterpiece we've ever experienced. Breath of the Wild's unmatched organic discovery returned, and was only enhanced by Tears of the Kingdom's wider enemy variety and more fleshed-out Hyrule, including its terrifying inverted basement known as the Depths. And the quest reached its zenith with a climactic finale that's a worthy send-off to the grand journey Link has just taken. But in the end, the journey of Tears of the Kingdom is shaped by our imaginations, where every success is a triumph, every failure's a story worth telling, and every solution feels uniquely yours. You could argue the significance of other Nintendo games over Tears of the Kingdom, but no game better showcases the most important elements of Nintendo's core design philosophy that's allowed them to push this medium forward over more than 40 years of game development. Innovation, creativity, a focus on fun for everyone, and a fearlessness to try weird things. Right now, Tears of the Kingdom is Nintendo's crowning achievement, but there's no doubt in our minds that something will eventually dethrone it. That's just what they do.
Link, you are our final hope. I pray this sword reaches you in the future.
And there we have it, our definitive list of the top 100 Nintendo games of all time, thanks to the staff at IGN and Nintendo Life. Do we miss your favorites? Did we hideously misplace a classic? Let us know in the comments, and for everything Nintendo, make sure to stick with IGN and Nintendo Life.